Archaeologists have unveiled a 3,500-year-old city in Peru that likely served as a trading hub linking Pacific coast cultures with those in the Andes and Amazon.
For over 4,000 years, the Epic of Gilgamesh has whispered through time. Humanity's oldest story, carved into clay and buried beneath the sands of Mesopotamia. It tells of a mighty king's desperate search for immortality, a journey through friendship, grief, and the unrelenting truth of what it means to be human. But what if this ancient tale, long thought to be just myth, actually hides a deeper message, one that speaks directly to us today? In 2022, the world quietly marked 150 years since the rediscovery of Gilgamesh, a moment that changed everything we knew about history, religion, and the human spirit. And at the center of it all stands Andrew George, the modern scholar who dedicated his life to unlocking its most hidden meanings. His work didn't just translate an old poem, it resurrected a voice that had been silent for millennia. Tonight, we uncover the truth he found, the message buried between broken tablets, and why he now says, "Before I die, please listen. Stay with me till the end," because what Andrew George reveals about Gilgamesh might just change how you see life, death, and the story of humanity itself. If you love uncovering ancient mysteries, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps keep history's lost voices alive. For centuries, the story of King David has echoed through the ancient hills of Jerusalem, a shepherd who became a king, a warrior who forged a nation, a man whose songs still whisper through time. His palace, the seat of his power and the heart of his legacy, has long existed only in scripture and faith. But beneath the city's narrow streets and sacred stones, archaeologists have always wondered, was there ever truly a palace of David, or was it only a story told to inspire generations? For years, that question remained buried, quite literally, beneath layers of soil, silence, and time. The city of David, just south of the Temple Mount, hides one of the densest archaeological sites on Earth. Beneath its ancient terraces lie centuries of forgotten civilizations, stacked one upon another like pages in a book written by the ages. It is here that the world's greatest archaeologists, historians, and even digital explorers have tried to turn faith into fact. Recently, that search took a new form. Artificial intelligence and modern data mapping began scanning the city of David with precision that ancient explorers could only dream of. Thousands of historical excavation reports, satellite images, and topographic scans were fed into a learning model, an AI designed to identify anomalies beneath Jerusalem's bedrock. What it found startled researchers. Patterns in the data pointed toward a massive rectangular structure, unlike anything else in the surrounding layers. AI cross-referenced it with biblical topography, ancient water systems, and descriptions from the Book of Samuel. The coordinates lined up almost perfectly with the area where 19th century explorers once claimed to have seen Cyclopean stones, immense foundation blocks buried deep under modern Jerusalem. It was as if the past itself was trying to reveal its hidden architecture, one pixel at a time. And yet, this wasn't the first time humans had searched for the truth. Decades before artificial intelligence and digital scans, explorers had walked the same ground with nothing but pickaxes, parchment, and prayer. Each generation left behind fragments of their search, sketches, maps, and faded notes that today's researchers upload into modern databases. AI then reads those old maps like an ancient oracle, aligning every detail with precision, GPS imaging, revealing connections long invisible to the human eye. It's almost poetic, that the same city where prophets once sought divine truth is now being searched by algorithms, where machines parse ancient soil to find the trace of a king whose psalms still speak of eternity. The deeper we dig, the stranger it gets. Some AI reconstructions even suggest that beneath the suspected palace foundations, there could be older chambers, predating David himself, linked to Canaanite fortifications or ritual spaces. It's as if the land is layered with the memories of civilizations stacked across millennia, each leaving a fingerprint for the next to uncover. But as the evidence grows, so does the debate. Could this truly be the long-lost palace of David, the very heart of Israel's first united kingdom? Or are we chasing shadows through data, letting ancient longing shape our interpretation of cold algorithms? Whatever the answer, one thing is certain. Beneath the streets of modern Jerusalem, something extraordinary sleeps, waiting to be understood. And just when the search seemed to hit another dead end, one discovery emerged that would shake the entire field of biblical archaeology, a finding so unexpected that even the AI's prediction models couldn't fully explain it. But then, one discovery changed everything preserved not in stone but in. Meanwhile, digital historians began digitizing every photograph, drawing, and soil analysis from Mazar's site. These were uploaded into the global Pyramid database, an AI-powered platform originally built to cross-reference ancient architectural sites across the Middle East. When the system processed Mazar's data, it detected something curious: geometric symmetry beneath the exposed foundation, as if the visible palace ruins were only the upper portion of a much larger structure hidden below. AI simulations reconstructed the buried sections, generating 3D models that aligned almost perfectly with architectural blueprints known from the Phoenician palaces of Tyre and Byblos, the same cultures that traded cedar and gold with King David. The results reignited an old question. Could David's palace have been built with foreign craftsmen and technology, blending cultures just as the Bible described? The media called it the find that shook Jerusalem. Debate exploded online. Some hailed Mazar as a modern-day pioneer who dared to follow faith through science. Others accused her of chasing legends. But amidst all the noise, one truth remained. The ruins were real, the artifacts undeniable, and the location eerily precise. And somewhere within that intersection of faith, science, and technology, a story was rewriting itself, a story that began in Scripture and ended in silicon. Because when AI matched those ancient coordinates to real stone, humanity had, in a way, rediscovered the footsteps of a king. But what Mazar didn't yet know was that her discovery was only the beginning. Deeper within the layers, sealed beneath the palace floor, something else was waiting, something the data couldn't fully explain. And that's where the mystery truly begins. The deeper the excavation went, the more the earth began to speak. What started as fragments of walls slowly transformed into something monumental, a structure that defied ordinary explanation. The stones were enormous, some carved with a precision unknown in early Iron Age Jerusalem. Their arrangement followed a Phoenician architectural pattern: perfectly cut cornerstones, imported materials, and smooth ashlar masonry. This wasn't a simple fortress or a household. This was royal. As Eilat Mazar's team carefully brushed away centuries of dust, they began to uncover layers that told a story, not in words, but in ash and stone. Beneath the topsoil lay a charred layer of destruction, blackened and brittle, physical proof of fire. When analyzed, the ash dated to around the 6th century BCE, the same era when Babylonian forces burned Jerusalem to the ground. It was as if history itself had been sealed beneath the flames. Then came the discovery that changed everything. Among the debris, archaeologists unearthed several clay seal impressions, or bulli, tiny, fragile discs no larger than a coin, yet bearing names written in ancient Hebrew script. One seal read, "Belonging to Jehukal, son of Shelemiah," another, "Gedaliah, son of Pashhur," both names recorded in the book of Jeremiah. These were not mythic kings or legendary warriors. These were real officials, bureaucrats of the royal court, their seals once pressed into papyrus documents more than 2,600 years ago. For the first time, the stones were whispering back to Scripture. But the discovery ignited an academic storm. Some hailed it as undeniable proof that the city of David was indeed the administrative heart of a kingdom once ruled by King David and his descendants. Others dismissed it as coincidence, arguing that ancient names were common and that connecting these seals to David's palace was more faith than fact. In the digital world, however, the conversation took a different turn. AI historians from the Pyramid database began running cross-references between Mazar's findings and other Iron Age structures across the Levant. Using pattern recognition algorithms, they detected striking architectural parallels between the so-called large stone structure and royal buildings excavated in Tyre and Megiddo, both cities known for their Phoenician craftsmanship and trade with Israel. Pyramid's reconstruction visualized what the palace might have looked like in its prime: towering cedar beams, imported limestone columns, a central courtyard overlooking the Kidron Valley, majestic, almost cinematic. But more intriguingly, the AI model revealed hidden geometric anomalies beneath the excavated walls, suggesting that what Mazar uncovered was only the upper level of a far greater structure still buried below. Scholars debated relentlessly. Was this truly David's palace, or merely the fortress of another Iron Age ruler? The questions tore through universities, religious circles, and media outlets. Faith clashed with skepticism. Archaeology clashed with theology. But amid the noise, one truth stood unshaken. The evidence was real, tangible, and older than anyone dared imagine. The ruins spoke of power. Craftsmen. In every cracked seal, in every burnt stone, there lingered a message, a dialogue between the divine and the human, between memory and fact. And somewhere in that dialogue, as AI reconstructed what the ancient scribes once described, a haunting question began to echo through the research labs and dig sites alike. If this is not the Palace of David, then whose story have we been reading all along? Before the ruins, before the debates, there was a city alive with sound. Jerusalem, once a rugged hilltop fortress, transformed under King David into a kingdom's beating heart. Picture it, the morning light spilling across limestone walls, markets humming with traders, soldiers standing guard at the gates, and musicians playing lyres in the courtyards of a palace that gleamed in the sun. Scribes etched royal decrees onto parchment. Priests ascended the hill toward the ark, and somewhere above them all, a poet king composed songs that would echo for thousands of years. This was not just the story of a ruler, it was the birth of a civilization's soul. Archaeologists now believe that David's reign marked the moment when Jerusalem shifted from a cluster of tribal dwellings to a capital of faith, art, and administration. The palace, with its grand Phoenician craftsmanship and imported cedar beams, symbolized more than wealth or power. It was a declaration that Jerusalem had entered history. Through AI reconstruction and data modeling, researchers at Pyramid began to digitally resurrect that lost world. They simulated light as it would have fallen across the courtyards 3,000 years ago. They mapped the palace's acoustics, revealing how a single musician's song could carry from the throne room to the outer gates. They even analyzed pollen residues trapped in ancient plaster, discovering traces of olive trees and imported cedar resin, proof of international trade that linked Jerusalem to the empires of the Mediterranean. The palace, once buried beneath centuries of dust, was reborn, pixel by pixel, stone by stone. And as the simulations played, historians, theologians, and ordinary viewers alike were struck not just by the architecture, but by what it represented. For believers, this was living proof that faith had foundations, that stories once confined to Scripture could now be walked through in virtual space. For scholars, it challenged long-held assumptions about the sophistication of Iron Age Jerusalem. For the people of modern Israel and beyond, it became a bridge between past and present, a reminder that history is not just studied, it's inherited. Even online, the discovery sparked something remarkable. Searches for City of David, Eilat Mazar discovery, and Palace of King David 3D model surged across the internet. Millions revisited ancient texts, comparing verses with AI-generated blueprints. The boundaries between faith and data blurred, and in that fusion, a new kind of storytelling was born, where ancient stones spoke through modern algorithms. But beyond the evidence and the analysis, there was something profoundly human about it all. As Dr. Andrew George once said of another ancient text, "What endures is not the stone, but the story." And perhaps that's true here too. Because even if the palace were someday proven to belong to another king, it would not change what it has already inspired: generations of dreamers, seekers, and believers, each searching for the same thing David did: meaning, legacy, and connection to something eternal. So when we look upon those excavated walls, whether through a camera lens, a drone scan, or a virtual model, we're not just gazing into the past, we're seeing the reflection of our own story, how memory becomes faith, how faith becomes history, and how history continues to shape who we are. Perhaps David's true legacy isn't written in stone at all, but in the story that still unites millions. As the years passed, the dust of Jerusalem continued to whisper. Excavations around the city of David didn't stop with Eilat Mazar. They evolved. New technology, new teams, and new tools entered the field. What had once been dug by hand was now scanned by satellites, drones, and deep-spectrum imaging systems powered by artificial intelligence. In 2024, the Pyramid AI network, now used by major universities and research institutes, began reanalyzing decades of excavation data from the city of David. The results were astonishing. The system detected hollow voids directly beneath the foundations of the palace, symmetrical, sealed spaces that no previous excavation had reached. When archaeologists began probing deeper, they discovered narrow passageways filled with rubble and ash, leading to what appeared to be a buried complex of stone chambers. Some of these spaces were sealed with ancient plaster, untouched since the time of their construction, more than 2,900 years ago. Inside, fragments of ritual vessels, burnt offerings, and inscribed tablets were found. The air was thick with both excitement and caution. Was this a royal archive, a treasury, or something sacred? A hidden sanctuary belonging to the House of David itself? News of the discovery leaked through academic channels, spreading rapidly online. Social media threads, AI-generated reconstructions, and news outlets buzzed with speculation. Have they found the royal chambers of King David? Some even suggested that these lower rooms might have served as an early sanctuary or shrine, possibly linked to the ark's relocation described in biblical accounts. But soon, the tone of the conversation changed. The site was quietly sealed. Access became limited. Field reports stopped being published. Even the Pyramid dataset, once open to researchers worldwide, suddenly went offline for maintenance. Whispers emerged of artifacts too controversial to display, inscriptions that challenged accepted history, and findings that blurred the line between faith and archaeology. Officially, the excavations were paused for preservation. Unofficially, The silence said more than words ever could. And yet, fragments of data persisted online. Enthusiasts, historians, and digital archivists re-uploaded cached pyramid scans, revealing strange heat signatures below the already discovered chambers. The AI's deep learning algorithms had detected something metallic, small, dense, and perfectly geometric, resting within the stone layers. Whatever it was, it didn't match any known archaeological material from the period. Speculation reignited, not wild conspiracy, but quiet wonder. What had they found under the palace of the poet king? Was it a relic, a symbol, or just the earth keeping its oldest secrets safe? No official statement ever confirmed what lay beneath. The archaeologists withdrew from public view. The chambers were resealed, and in the silence that followed, only one thing became certain: that beneath every discovery lies another mystery waiting to be uncovered. Because maybe the real secret of David's palace isn't what they found beneath, but what it continues to awaken in us, the timeless human search for truth, faith, and memory. And perhaps that's why, even now, the story of David refuses to end. It's not just carved in stone or written in scripture. It's alive in every question we still dare to ask. And so, beneath the ancient streets of Jerusalem, beneath the prayers, the stones, and the shifting dust of history, the palace still waits. Whether it belonged to a king or a legend, we may never fully know. But its story endures, in every verse of scripture, in every artifact unearthed, and in every question that refuses to fade. For centuries, people have searched for proof, something solid, something real, to connect belief with history. But maybe the truth was never just buried in the ground. Maybe it was always buried in us. Because when we look at those ruins today, what we really see is the mirror of our own longing, to remember, to believe, and to belong to something greater than ourselves. The stones may stay silent, the scholars may disagree, but the story of David and the world he built continues to live in every heart that still dares to wonder. Perhaps the greatest discovery isn't what lies beneath the palace, but what it continues to awaken in us: faith, memory, and the timeless human need to find meaning in the dust of the past. If you've journeyed this far with us, thank you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to help keep history's forgotten stories alive, because some mysteries deserve to be remembered.